All right. Thank you very much for all those of you who waited up a bit. There was a slight technical glitch, but we're on now. R Madhavan is joining us in just exactly, 10 seconds? He's connected with us, and I'm super excited to speak with him. You may have watched the series Decoupled. A lot of admiration that the series received, at the same time a lot of criticism as well. So we'd really like to know R Madhavan's take on this satire that really speaks this really unusual relationship that a married couple share. Madhavan, to tell us a little more about that. Madhavan, can you hear me? Are you with us?
I can, loud and clear. How are you doing?
Awesome. Can we see Madhavan? Oh, excellent. You look great. I should tell you that.
Thank you.
And when I did, thanks. And when I did mention to my family that I was interviewing R Madhavan, my mum said, "Please tell him that his smile just makes us so calm. You have such a calm. You have such a calming, warm." Sweet vibe to you. I don't know. I've grown up watching your movies. I'm telling you, you were definitely one of my cousins, my friends, our top #1 crush at one point. Around the time that you came out with Rehna Hai Teri Dil Mein. Oh my God, it was so amazing, and I'm so happy to talk to you, Madhavan. I know I'm acting like a little fangirl, but thank you very much for making time for us.
Now you made my day. Thank you.
Okay, so the recent Netflix series Decoupled has become such a rage among maybe every category of the society, right? While some of them really praising it and your quirky character, your eccentric role that you've played to perfection, you have many others condemning it, saying, "Arey, what is this? You're stereotyping women, you're stereotyping marriage, you're making it sound like, you're making men sound on the extreme end and the women sound hypocritical too." So I'd like to hear your take on marriage and married life. I think if anybody, you have one successful marriage. For so many years, we've looked at you as an epitome of a perfect couple. So why don't you tell us, what's your idea of marriage?
Well, thank you so much for the compliments and for all the kind words. I'm going to jump right into it. So I think the definition of a happy married life is a fairy tale. Not everybody, once you get married, it doesn't literally is a happily ever after scenario. In fact, after you fall in love, falling in love is the easy part. I think getting married is the easier part. But the toughest part is to keep working at it for the rest of your life. And it really means, in my opinion, look, I'm no marriage counselor and I'm not an expert on it. I just know what it takes from me to keep this marriage happening in a way that both of us are happy in it. Yeah. And it requires a lot of hard work. And one of the most important things that happens in a marriage is you have to be ready to change for the other person. You become a shadow of who you were, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But you realize that over a period of time, all the things that you fell in love with the person that you're with right now is all actually receded to the background, because people change and people grow and people are affected by many things, their achievements in life. So 10 years of marriage or 20 years of marriages, and when 10 years of marriages break up, you realize that they were holding on to thin shreds of what was important to them, and they realized that the change was not worth it for the other person. Maybe that's why they break up. I'm not in a position to say why they break up, because I have had the good fortune of being in a marriage, which I'm very happy with. But I can't tell you that it was a nice, happy, happily ever after scenario. I really had to change. I had to give up a lot of things that were important for me. I had to give a lot of things that I thought I was not capable of giving up. But at the end of the day, the person made it feel worth it. And I'm sure the same thing Sarita feels about me too. So that is my take on my personal marriage. I think in today's world, people get married later on in their lives. So they are ingrained in their eccentricities. I got married when I was 30 as well. But then what happens is, thankfully, I knew Sarita for 8 years before we got married. So you get used to each other's eccentricities. You get used to each other's habits.
You know what you're also saying, as you say this, you're also saying it's better to get hitched early in life, so you get used to it and grow with the personality, rather than getting
Or
married later.
or get used to the fact that the eccentricities will be tough to get through, and you'll have to make those sacrifices to get, because the older you get, the tougher it is for you to change yourself for somebody else. So yeah, so if you get to know somebody earlier on, great. If not, then just be prepared to make a lot of changes. And I would totally advocate marriage, because I think it's important to punctuate all the emotions in your life as you go along with somebody, and then as you grow older, it's something to reflect upon and really makes that your later years in your life a lot more worth it.
You know that your role is so funny. Let me tell you, you've got such a funny side to you, which I never imagined. I'm sure it must have come as a surprise to many of them. Did you know that you've always got this funny bone in you? Because we saw you in Three Idiots, where you were sweet and funny and all of that. But to come this far, to have to essay a role like Arya, you need so much in you to, or rather, to have that true personality to deliver it on screen as well. I don't know how much of Arya is you.
Oh, I think a lot of him is.
Yeah, I thought as much.
I've said that. Yeah. And I think I do comedy the best. I've done that before on television. I was doing Ghar Jawai, and I was doing a lot of comical series. But this one was satire. It's something that I did for the very first time in my life. And the biggest challenge was that I knew this as character Arya Iyer was saying some of the most ridiculous things. You know, there was things that I wouldn't dare to say in real life, or I wouldn't even actually agree with him in some cases. But he was saying it. And so I had to do it with a conviction that made it look more of an observation as opposed to something like he's passing a statement on. He's not he's not body shaming anybody by saying something. He's not really insulting anybody because he wants to. It's just an observation that comes out loud, which does not need to come out loud. I think that was what the definition of his character was for me. And I thought I had to infuse a lot of innocence in him so that people don't hate him by the end of the series. But judging by people's reaction, see, the thing is, I've generally had ladies and women and students and youngsters like my work. I've never really had men come up and say, "Shit, man, what a job." But for the first time in my life, powerful men from around the world have come and said, "How did you know this is what happened in my house?"
Then my question to you would be, do men think of sex all the time?
No, I don't. No. In fact, if I had to speak for myself, I think of it with fear, because as you have performance anxiety. You want to know whether the person you're with is happy with you or not, and it's not something that.
And is that for like your ego boost, or is it really truly committed to make the woman happy?
More than that, it's it's trying to make sure that you're good enough to a partner for your partner. It's not something that at our age, at least at the age that Arya is in, it's not something that that he can gloat about in terms of his performance. He really has to make sure. Actually, it's a validation. I think it's when men when they turn 40 and stuff, they really want to experiment and see if they still have it. Let me explain a scenario to you. If you go to a bar, if you're a pretty woman and you go to a bar and you're whatever age group you're in, you'll still find men attracted to you and come up to you and talk to you and want to be with you. For a 40+ man, that is a doubtful thing. It's very doubtful. Unless they come up. Yeah, because unless they know who you are or your achievements, it's very unlikely that a 40+ podgy guy will get hit upon by some woman. So he doesn't even know whether he still got it, and that whether he's still an alpha male or he still knows how to treat women respectfully, right? And so he wants to try, and he wants to see if he still got it. I think that's the only reason that they do stupid decisions. But apart from that, I don't think they think about sex all the time. I really don't think. I find that very hard to believe.
Validation seems more like it. I guess that's more to do with women also. But
possibly.
But you know what? Your character is so eccentric in that whatever you think, it's out there. You're speaking your mind, which more or less is what you see in a regular household as well. You have men, women saying the things exactly what you've seen in the series of Decoupled. But somehow when it came out and when the series became a hit, it was #1 at one point on Netflix, you had so much criticism coming in that, oh, Madhavan is so sexist, how could you essay a role like that? and the kind of criticism that came your way, how do you really look at it? Because we do experience those, the many messages that you wanted to convey through the series is what we see in your household on a regular day. So why this kind of hypocritical backlash?
Have you seen any movie of mine that you liked recently? Like, have you seen Tanu Vs Manu or Returns?
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Have you seen Tanu Vs Manu Returns?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Oh. Well, then I can't make this point with you.
No, make it. No, you have millions of your fans who would watch.
So a lot of journalists and a lot of women come up to me and they say they love Tanu Vs Manu Returns, and they love the fact that that itna acha series hai, kitne अच्छे dialogues hai, and there's a dialogue over there which is oft repeated to me and told many times to me, and they say, यार where Kangana says, यार ये आदमी को देखो कहीं भी अदरक की तरह कहीं से भी बढ़ रहा है, ghost हड्डी छोड़ रही है, ghost हड्डी छोड़ रही है, where it's actually showing that a man in his 40 and he's 40 and he's growing in every direction like an adrak. And I've had so many journalists and so many women come up to me and say it. It doesn't offend me. I mean, it is body shaming, R Madhvan, after all, isn't it? You're saying somebody ki yaar ab adrak ki tarah badh rahe ho, but it's okay. I find that selective outrage a little funny. Why didn't people stand up and say, "Oh, how can you say that to him? Isn't that not right?" I don't find many men coming to my support and saying, "Yaar, aisa insaan mardon ke bare nahi bolna chahiye." I don't feel offended because it's a satire. It's comedy. It's supposed to play out like that. And nowhere in our series have we belittled women at all. Okay,
Man, you were ashamed of your ex-girlfriend who became
I was
fat,
never
who
ashamed.
gained a lot of
I'm saying, if you look at the series, you might say all that, but it is not true. The fact is, I wasn't ashamed of her. I just didn't want her to be seen by my wife. In fact, anything else, my wife is the one who's smiling at her and laughing at her. It's not me.
And then, yeah, exactly. I saw that at the end of it.
It's not me.
Serene was like, yeah, okay, this.
Yeah, so she's the one. And it's, but I think one should be very clear about what body shaming means. You cannot make somebody feel horrible about who they are. You have to own up to who I am. I'm also fat all the time. But I can't go out and tell 15 people who are telling me that, Maddy, you should lose weight, that it's none of your business. I have to be comfortable with that. I'm saying, yeah, dude, I'm happy with what I am. I'm eating my own food, let me be. And I think that's the way to increase the confidence about women, and to make them feel good about who they are. Not everybody is going to be a model. Not everybody is going to be thin all the time. You're allowed to do what you want to do, right? So if anybody doesn't respect women for how they are and what they are doing, and if they're belittling them, then I'll be the first one to fight and break his teeth for you. That is not acceptable to me. But here it's a satire. It's a situation where he was showing off that he was the biggest alpha male on the college, and he wants to show off his girlfriend, and now he realizes that it could backfire on him. He was never ashamed. There was no way.
Because your wife in the series is so hot. Yeah, you can't do anything short.
It's just a situation. So there is. I mean, you can take the smallest line that anybody says and twist it around to be the most scandalous line in the world. You can take the smallest. There is no movie that I have done till now. If you look at it in lenses that are now colored, that it won't look. It looked at it from Kannathil Muttamatala Mani Ratnam film to Alai Paide, my first film, to Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein. Every product that I have done, if looked at through those lenses, it's going to sound wrong.
Yeah.
And we can't help it. I mean, it's an evolution that has happened over a period of time, and I really think that Arya doesn't feel like he's insulting anybody in the series. He's just an observer, and he observes and he says it. So,
like for example, at the end of it, they're observing Environment Day. They want to have 2 minutes of silence and switch off lights all over, but Arya will not do it. Because that's just you.
That doesn't make sense. One colony turning off, and you see, if you look at what he believes in, it makes a lot more sense. When you have a chocolate cake, which is saying in the scene earlier on, you're burning a lot more calories. You're just having a chocolate cake pastry, the amount of water it takes for the cocoa to be developed and harvested and brought is a lot more than turning on electricity. So if you really want to save the environment, he says that's Arya's point. He says, stop eating chocolate cake. You don't have to turn off the electricity.
But
So
on the contrary, it's also little efforts that make something possible, right? Small drops
I
accumulate to
think
be an
what
ocean. So it's symbolic
yeah,
more
I
than
think what
anything to.
no, I think what Arya believes. In fact, I think the younger generation is far more responsible than we ever were.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's Arya's belief is that you must do that, but don't do it symbolically all the time, so that it just remains a symbol. You really have to bring it as a practice into your own life every time. That's what he says. That's exactly why he doesn't get along with this preachy guy who's his neighbor, Mr. Basu.
Yeah.
Because everything is so you can't keep setting examples. You have to follow those examples at a time and make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So who does that? I mean, as a man, as a human being, everything I'm saying, it's not just hypothetical. You have to apply it. And if you don't, then you're just teaching your kids how to be hypothetical all the time.
No, but man, you'd often see one uncle in the family who's so eccentric, wants to embarrass every situation that you're in.
That's
That
true.
actually stood out, because every situation that you're in, you'll somehow manage to find something controversial to say.
Which is, yeah, a lot of my fans and a lot of people who saw that, they were saying we were afraid to, in every situation, to say, "Ab ye kya karne baithe?" You know, but at the end of the day, I think I made people laugh. I think as a team, Decoupled team made people laugh out loud, which we haven't seen for the longest time, and feel good about themselves during the COVID era. And that was the entire idea: is just to laugh out loud. And I'm saying that I'm very proud of it.
Man, no, to be honest, we're very proud of it, for the only reason because we've not seen something like this in Indian cinema for a while, something so progressive when it comes to modern day couples who have a child, want to keep a marriage going for the child, but yet having their lives dating outside marriage. So open marriage, I'd like to hear your take on that. Decoupled speaks so much about dating while you're married. Maybe just keep it going as long as both your boats are afloat.
No, I don't think that. I believe personally in open marriages. That's not what we're advocating. But when push comes to a shove, then for the sake of the child, if you have to stay together to bring up the child without it being scarred, and at the same time have your cake and eat it too, I think that's when they opt for an open marriage. But if you look at it, both of them are not really. In the beginning, at least he's not able to do anything. He's he's trying to sabotage himself when he's with the girl. So it doesn't come easily for people like most people here. I mean, it's just something that is so tough. But I think the fear of losing out on your youth, as well as the fact that you don't want to ruin your child's life, is something that you try and stay together, and that's defined as an open marriage.
So would you advocate staying together for your
No.
child? Is it good to
Oh,
sacrifice for your children? Because a number of them who sacrifice all their ambitions only to raise their child. While later on they probably regret their decision, but maybe the child turns out well because of the parents' sacrifice, but you'd still, miss out on all the good things in life just because you wanted to see your child grow. Usually either of the parent would not want to move on, would want to get married again, only because you want to see your child fully protected and taken care of,
Yeah, I think,
and your attention not diverted anywhere else. Yeah, would you agree with that? Sacrificing entirely for your child?
Yeah. I think it depends on the country you're living in. If you look at Japan, they do a lot more. If you look at China, they do a lot more for the sake of a family. And India is now still a country, and it's and growing very quickly. So you can't measure it with a Western yardstick of what they assume as freedom and liberty. Okay, they have a broken, a number of divorces in the West is far more than it is in India. At the same time, the family structure in India is far stronger than anywhere else in the world. And it is true. And that is because the parents are taught, like our parents made sacrifices. We are taught to make sacrifices. The children stay with us in the Western country. If a child who's 16 is staying at home, he's mocked upon. We can't adopt those. Those philosophies over here. Here, a child who's 15, 16 is still a child who's 15, 16. They need to be nurtured and grown up and taught to face the world. So we shouldn't get confused about what is prevalent and acceptable in the West as opposed to what is in India. In India, we are very, very firm believers of family structure. We're very, very firm believers, and that is why if you ask me, the top 20 Fortune 500 companies, more than half of it is being headed by Indians who were born and brought up and studied over here. And it cannot be out of coincidence that people are so successful and they still maintain a proper family structure. I don't see a lot of them getting divorced left, right, and center. So yeah, you stay together for the sake of building a stronger family and a stronger society.
But at the same time, as much as you say that, at the same time, we're seeing a lot many more married couples part ways. Would you also advocate that it not happening, just move on? Why pull yourself down?
Because
peer pressure.
I'm only saying things that I can advocate as my personal experience, right? And so to each his own. I have not come to a position where I'm either splitting or breaking up in a relationship, so I really don't know what to advise them. I just think that in the world that we are in, if you can spread the niceness and the sweetness and maintain the harmony, it's even better. Everybody's going through hell because of the COVID era and all the challenges that children face. If you can make somebody's life easier and yours equally, then by all means do it. But I don't think I can advocate, to splitting up.
Just your thought, like for example, in Decoupled towards the end, you did part ways. You all separated, but somehow looked like it was on good terms. The child finally had to digest that bitter pill that, all right, my parents have now divorced, but they seem to be talking to each other, which is unusual because she had a different concept of divorce altogether on her mind. So that part, if not working, just move on, because if not, your trauma will translate to your child's trauma in the years to come.
Absolutely. So if God forbid you have to separate and you have to get into a divorce because of whatever reason. See, if there is abuse in a marriage or a relationship, then absolutely divorce is something that I would advocate, and getting the other person to task is something I would also go after. But if it is on mutual terms, then it makes sense to make the life of the child that much more easier, right? So it helps them to know that there's an amicable relationship between their parents, even if they're not together legally or in terms of a marriage. I think their life becomes easier. That is my perception of it. I haven't been through a family. I don't know many families like that, so I won't be able to say it, but I think that would be my perception.
Okay, so a very unusual arrangement between a couple. We know that Decoupled 2 is also coming. Is it going to be an extension of Arya as a character and now single in the second season?
Decoupled 1 has done so well. Yeah. I'm kind of afraid to now look at Decoupled 2. There's nothing in the cards right now. We're still discussing it. But we have learned a lot of, great inputs because of the way, honestly speaking, for an English series to do this well in India is not what I expected. I was very nervous about it. I was very nervous about it because it's, after all, in English. And talking about a very small section of the Indian society. But
but that's what was said initially, that it caters to only one elite urban audience, etc. But no, you'd be surprised how many diverse kinds of people from different strata of the society have managed to connect with it. So these are problems.
Which is what I'm trying to say, that is what I was not expecting. I was expecting it to be an English series, but for it to be number 1, number 2, and trending around the world, and for a rickshaw guy in Bombay to come and meet me, outside a hostel I was shooting in, and he says, "Madhavan ji, kaise hain aap? Ek baar haath mila dijiye, hum haath dho ke aaye hain," is something that I didn't expect. That I didn't expect, I've said, "Aapne dekha?" He said, "हाँ, मैंने हिंदी में देखा, मुझे अच्छा लगा." I go, "Yeah, not bad." So people are seeing it in the regional languages as well, and that's not what I expected. Yeah, so we have to rethink about what we want to do, and see how it goes with the second season.
Oh man, I mean, you know what definitely the highlights of your series was the little tips that you had with Chetan Bhagat. That was very refreshing and nice to see. How was that experience with you? And do you read his books? What do you think of him?
I love Chetan. I think he's a phenomenal guy. He's he's oft misunderstood, but but I can see that the plane that he comes from, and he's a great writer, yeah? And the Three Idiots is proof enough of his ability. I've read his books, but when I met him, I hadn't met him after Three Idiots, so I didn't know what to expect out of Chetan Bhagat because we hadn't interacted much. But it was outstandingly mature of him to accept a role like this, take it on his chin as an actor and then as a writer, and then and be part of our decoupled family entirely. And that's exactly what he was. He was contributing to the scenes. He was being a great friend. He was, and I've famously got along with him so much that we're now collaborating together. I think he's a phenomenal writer.
Yeah.
And a great guy, actually. Yeah.
Well, not too sure about all of that, but his role in Decoupled was really funny, and I think it added so much to the series for sure. And the character that he essayed, somehow poking fun at himself, that was great. Like you said, very brave of him. Now, you know what?
Yeah.
Sabreen Chawla, she has done such a fabulous job, and oh my God, she looks so great. And in the series, she's also, really somehow empowered women, married women. She wears the stuff she wants to wear. She says the stuff she wants to say. She does exactly what she wants to do. She's even dating while being married. So it does motivate women to watch for sure. But I also noticed in the series that you were trying so hard to please her. She was fallen out of love, at least towards the end of it. She really clearly looked like she did not want to carry forward with it. How did that essaying that part go, and how do you interpret that role that you and Sabreen shared eventually, of her falling out of love, you staying in it and trying your best to please her, but never happened? And also, I also want to ask you that you tried so hard not to, to demotivate her from wearing the clothes that she wanted to. She would want to wear something so skimpy, and you're like, cover it. Why are you wearing this? What are you wearing?
No, I don't. No, I think that never happened. That's never happened in the series. I think it's perception. No, that's never happened.
The gym pant that she was wearing.
It was not because it was exposing. It's very clearly seen. It's not because it's skimpy, or it's just that it's a crazy design that just draws attention to a particular part, which was unnecessary. That's all he said. He never stops her from wearing what she wants in terms of its skimpiness or its her expression of her femininity. That's never happened. I'm very clear about that in the entire series. Secondly, he's still very much in love with her. They are best of friends. If you see the series, he stands up for her and she stands up for him. And the parents are saying that they're going to give the will away to their son and all that. And he says, he looks at her and says, "Hey babe, don't never worry about money, because all the money I have is always yours." And she puts her hand on him and says, "No, Arya, you're right." But she doesn't allow her father to talk rudely to Arya, and she stands up for him in a lot of places. It's just that it's so difficult to live with a person like Arya. He just, it's voiced in her opinion, and he's talking about how to change an underwear inside a men's room. And she says, can't you give me one evening that I can be at peace with myself? And when that becomes impossible, then she says, I just can't. I can't keep worrying. And the same worry that all the viewers had, ki ab Arya kya bol dega, is a worry that she carries all her life. And she says, I can't live with that stress anymore. It's not like I've fallen out of love with you, but I just cannot handle being with you all the time anymore. It's just getting to me, which is fair enough. I thought that was, and Surveen did a brilliant job. Yeah. I think it was so heartening, and I'm so in awe of her, because she's such a wonderful performer. And she makes both she and I had to actually start off looking like we were married 8 years. And that's very difficult, and then to do an 8-episode series where we shoot non-linear, where you shoot the first episode of the first series on the first day, as well as the 8th scene of the 7th series on the same day. It's very difficult to project backward and forward about how you're going to travel through the series. She did that brilliantly, and amicably supported me, or else if people didn't want this couple to stay together, despite the fact that Arya is such a pain to be with, the series wouldn't have worked.
Well, I think we're really eagerly awaiting for Decoupled 2. If that is a possibility, then I really hope that you make that our dream a reality. That'll be great to watch you again, and this time single. That'll be really great, actually, to see your quirks there.
Well, we have to ask Manu what he thinks. Manu Joseph is the one who's...
I know.
We'll see. Yeah. I really wasn't expecting this, so we didn't expect... I don't know if you're ready for the season 2 yet.
Yeah, so you know what? I was just also getting to that. When you say I didn't expect this, you forayed into OTT digital platforms, which very few actors have really very boldly gotten into. And you seem to have sort of redefined and reshaped your career with this. it almost has, we see it as a fabulous comeback of sorts. I know there are many films also in the pipeline. I'd like you to share your thoughts on that. But to foray into digital OTT platforms so boldly, so confidently, I think it's clearly worked for you. But did you have any apprehension with doing a series as such after coming from a background of doing super hit blockbuster films, be it in the South or Bollywood as well?
So I never came into the industry to be an actor. In fact, I didn't even want to come into the industry. It was by chance that somebody offered me a role and it worked. And then every time that somebody said that, this is not going to happen with you because they thought that's the natural progress, a progressive step ahead, it just went ahead and happened. I didn't even have to try for it. For example, I was doing television serials and I'd done almost 1,800 episodes on TV. And they said, you'll never be a film actor. You're overexposed on television. And I said, yeah, I didn't come here to be an actor in the first place. So, naimula to naimula. I'm not dying to be a film actor. Yeah. Actually, that's exactly what I had said. And then I got Mani Ratnam to launch me.
Yeah,
I was completely lucky. Nobody can imagine a launch like that with a Mani Ratnam, right?
I know.
So so that film became a blockbuster in Tamil. Then I started doing films in Tamil, and then they said you'll never be a Hindi film hero because tu bahut Madrasi hai, and
But that spice, that added to your character and your personality. I think that's what people really like about you, that you have this South twang to you.
Well, actually, I speak Hindi better than most Hindi people because I was born and brought up in Bihar.
Okay.
But the point is that, I'm answering the question you asked me about whether I was skeptical about going into OTT with the risk.
Yeah.
So because when I became a Tamil actor, I wasn't looking at the Hindi career. Then I got Rehna Tere Dil Mein in Hindi, and that became a hit. And then I started doing iconic films in Hindi, which did very well for me, which I was not expecting. You don't expect to gain recognition for a film like Rang De Basanti with my role. My role was only 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was only 7-8 minutes in the film. But then that became my film for some reason as well. So with luck on my side, it has taught me over and over again never to fear anything. And if it sounds right to you, go ahead and do it. So when OTT came, I was very sure that I wanted to do it, but I wanted to make sure that I did it with a project that was international in its appeal and in the way it has been shot and story told. Because if I went back to the kind of stories that were being told on television at that time, it would have surely flopped. So Breathe was a risk. I was playing a negative character. I was playing somebody who's murdering people. And at the same time, I had people had to, root for you. And it was an 8-episode series, and thankfully that really did well for us. Yeah. If that had flopped, then it would have affected my Hindi as well as my Tamil film career.
Correct.
So then that was my last web series, OTT series, about 6 years ago, I think. Then the next one I've done is Decoupled. So I'm not jumping into doing OTT all the time. I'm just waiting to see character defining roles, which for me is very important because I enjoy my work. I enjoy the time I spend with the people. But I'm going to make a very honest confession. Netflix had already approved this series, so I knew I was going to make my money with Decoupled, and I wanted to give it a shot in English. So I thought, worst case scenario, paise kama lunga, and I'll be able to release my film Rocketry, which is ready for release. And I've been holding on to it for 1.5 years now, after it's been ready in 7 languages. Yeah, it's your directorial
debut too.
Yeah,
and you also play the lead, Nambiar.
But more than that, Mr. Nambi Narayanan. Yes. Yeah, and but more than that, I think it's a service that I want to do really badly. And I really believe in the story, and I believe in Mr. Nambi Narayanan like nobody can imagine. And I wanted that story to be told. But I didn't have any way to release it, and I put all my money where my mouth is, so that film is stuck there. So till the release, I had to Ghar Ka Chulha Jalao, and one of the reasons I took up Decoupled was that. So I wasn't expecting this sort of a response, but I'm very glad that things have worked out in the manner that they have.
But honestly, I think we saw such a raw side of you, and for those who love Madhavan, I think the respect for you has catapulted, and the love for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we can't wait to see. Tell me more about Rocketry before I let you go. I know I've already taken much of your time. You're in Dubai now, and I don't know if our audience know, but you have your son Vedant, who is attempting at Olympics in swimming. So, well, wishing him all the very best. But give us a little insight on your family, how you're managing your time in Dubai and in India with your film career.
So I stay in India most of the time, in Bombay or in Chennai. But so I think much has been made, and I need to say this out live and clear the
Yeah.
misconception. Vedant is still 16 years old. He's still training. There are much better swimmers than him at his age group in India who are doing much better. But he
He's a
gets a lot of
national level
limelight.
swimmer already.
Yes, he is. That I can't take away from him. He works very hard, and he's a national level medalist, gold medalist in a few as well. He's definitely a very accomplished swimmer, but there are better swimmers than him. And he's been training hard. And what happens is they are in what is called the growth spurt age group between 14 to 16, and not training at this age group. You can never be an international level athlete if you're not training when your body is growing quickly.
Right.
And there was no way that we could train when he was 14 in India because all the pools were closed in Bombay. We could barely travel for 2 years, and even now they're still closed. So there was no way. My wife suddenly decided that no, Maddie, if his dream is to swim and he can't swim, he's paddling around in a small pool, he's never going to reach international level. So she literally packed her bags and said, "Tumko aana hai to main to ja rahi hu. I need to make sure he swims." So she came to Dubai, and the pools were open here with all the COVID restrictions.
Right.
So he started to swim, which is good for us because then the entire Indian team also. A lot of them, not the entire, but a lot of the Indian team people also came here, and he was able to train with Olympians, which is a big boon for a student of his age. So I keep flying between India and Dubai.
Yeah.
But most of my shootings are in India. But my wife is here feeding him and making sure he goes to the pool at 4:30 every morning and trains 6 hours a day.
Well, I mean, and since you're speaking and you're so focused around your child's fitness and training, what about you? I read somewhere that you really, if you ever want to be cast opposite Katrina Kaif, then you got to be Hrithik Roshan. That's how fit you must be. And you are
fair
fit,
enough, right?
But actors around the time who came in around the time that you did, today have come back with six-pack abs and want to show off their muscle and fit bodies and take a role which is maybe much younger than their age also. We've seen that trend over the years, but somehow Madhavan never got into that role of maybe having a six-pack ab and flaunting your physique. Is that something that is on the cards? We could expect you to come essay that role maybe in the future?
I did one called Sala Kadus, where I really bulked up and looked like a mountain. That was just to prove myself that I can do it in my 40s. Secondly, I'm using this as an excuse, honestly, because there's no bloody excuse for me not to look fit and tight, as they call in Decoupled.
Yeah. Tight, yeah.
So I need to look tight now. That's for sure. But I think the kind of roles that I take up, I need to make them all believable. Okay. Now, if Arya was somebody, who was completely, a COVID bod, in my opinion. He, completely not worked out for 1.5 years and enjoyed his life. That's a nobody. But if you look at what I've done in rocketry, for instance, we become from really, really thin to an 85-year-old, to a 75-year-old man's body. For me, that I can't maintain a six-pack and then do the kind of roles that I'm doing, for sure. So I need to because I'm not the kind of guy who can entice people with my ability to dance. So however much my age group actors are able to do, but they're just an apology of the dancers, except for maybe Hrithik Roshan, who's not even my age group, still younger than me. But we can't dance now and compete with the guys who are coming in now. Yeah, they're doing all sorts of stuff, flying over their heads, and so I always believed in doing age-appropriate roles. So my roles have always been where, in all my work, in all my movies, we look at it, the women have extraordinary, powerful roles. In fact, most cases, they have better roles than me. That's the kind of subjects I have been selecting till date. And if you look at it, those are the things. Like 3 of my heroines have got 3 of my characters have acted opposite women who've got the national award for it. Yeah. Wow. 2 with Kangana, one with Sala Kadus, where Hrithika got the national award for it. So I'm very proud. That's the kind of stuff because my life is full of powerful women. My entire life is full of powerful women. So for me to act in age-appropriate roles is very important. And if it's a story that demands that the heroine be much younger, then it's a demand and a requirement of the script, not that of the heroes. So I don't think I can do those kind of films. Like, I mean, the rest of them are doing a brilliant job of doing that. That's their forte. My forte is to make sure that every character that I do, people remember the name of that character. That's all I aim for.
Man, I mean, that's great. I think age-appropriate roles is what we hope to see a lot more coming from from the industry. Also, Madhavan, you were a quick take. I know I've taken a lot of your time, but as I come to a close here, little motivation for the industries in the South. A lot of them, in fact, we look at you as someone who transcended borders, got into the Hindi film industry and had such a successful career. While you see a lot more of that happening today. So are we seeing blurred lines when it comes to cinema? No more South, no more North. With Pushpa, like for example, Allu Arjun, he got that dubbed in Hindi, and the Hindi version did a lot better than the Telugu itself. I mean, it was more popular. So dubbing also has now become, I think, a more common practice for many films in the South. So no more a superstar of the South or superstar of the North. It's just a superstar. You have mass appeal now.
I think the superstars is the audience. Okay. And it's their ability to maneuver and say, hey, you know what, stop giving me crap in this particular language. I might not understand Telugu, but I will still go ahead and watch a Bahubali or a Pushpa or whatever comes. It doesn't mean that all films coming from the South also have that sort of a reception. So it's amazing how the audiences are teaching our industry how to respect their intelligence, which is something that is phenomenal. So I don't think there are any superstars left anymore. Nobody is going to come merely by the name of the actor. You'll get your initial footfalls, but then you'll also get your brickbacks, and and then you'll see not. And if the film doesn't work, there must be a reason why it doesn't work. So people still have to figure that out. At one point of time, I think the Hindi film industry used to, consider itself the trendsetter in terms of the clothes or the movies, or they kind of, were a much bigger industry than this, or they thought themselves to be a much bigger industry than the South. Now it's just coming around and slapping them left, right, and center and saying, boss, acha content hai, so it's going to work. Be it Pushpa, be it Bahubali, it's going to be the biggest grosser in the world. And which is, so some of the biggest grossing Indian films are Telugu films right now. So which is phenomenal. I think it's time for us to all throw off the blanket and start searching for content that's going to work internationally and pan India. So I'm happy to be in the boat that I'm in because I can speak both the languages. I'm aware of both the
I think already got past that barrier way ago. Because South stars always, it's like if a South star manages to get a Bollywood film, then you've made it in your career. That's how it's perceived, right? That's
At one point of time, yes, it was. Yeah. But now the Telugu actors are not even vying to be in Hindi films. They are saying, we'll show you how it's done. They're not even vying to. They're doing their jobs brilliantly. And look at what they have done. Phenomenal. I mean, Allu Arjun, the brother of mine, is a friend, and I'm in awe of this guy. And look at the trailers of RRR, look at the guys there, look at the camaraderie between, NTR, Junior NTR and Ramchara. Look at them. When they're dancing together, you feel like, they are brothers. I mean, I haven't seen that for a long time. I really wish that happened in 3 days. It looks like we were college friends, right? And there are lots of Hindi films earlier on that was all about friendship and did really, really well. But at today's age, of being both of them such superstars, them coming together and doing this is brilliant. I can't wait to see that film.
Awesome. Man, it was so fun talking to you, Madhavan. You really poured your heart out. You've said everything, whatever that was on your mind, without any inhibitions, and I really appreciate and thank you for it. I think all your fans who've been watching probably, maybe they thoroughly did enjoy this interview. I did. I hope you did too. And this is from Team India Today, wishing you all the very best for Decoupled 2 if it's coming. And also Rocketry. We know Rocketry is something that we're really looking forward to. When would we expect that?
As of now, on the 1st of April, that's when it's scheduled to release, and hopefully all the lockdowns and stuff will end and I'm able to stick to that release date. But 1st of April is when I hopefully get rid of all the 7 babies that I'm pregnant with.
Man, but your smile just takes it away. I'm telling
Thank you. Thank you. I should tell my dentist that. He's completely responsible.
Awesome. Thanks, Madhavan. Thank you once again, and all the very best to you and to your son as well. And looking forward
You're
to
very
more
kind.
of you.
Thank you so much. Jai.
Thank you.
See
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.